Okay, I am going to call the Monday, June 27th, 2022 Franklin Public Library Board of Trustees meeting to order because it's 6 o'clock. And but take your time with everything over there in honor of our two outgoing members. So it is 6 o'clock. There are no extra public members other than Doris Weber, who is will be an official incoming board member as of next month. So we're already on agenda item number 3.
You got to do roll call.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go.
Do you want me to start it over?
No, don't start it over. They can listen to us jabber a little bit. Okay, I am present. Maria Imp, Judy Williams-Kalaki.
Here.
Judy Miller.
Here.
Ravian Barrios.
Here.
Terry Barris.
Here.
Alan Alexandrovich.
Here.
Mike Karolevich.
Here.
And Kristen Wilhelm.
My name's easy after all, right?
I know, right? I thought if I said it really fast, they wouldn't correct me. A for effort. All righty. So that was the roll call is also here. And then, all right, Jennifer, you want to comment on the...
We got the $300 annual donation that we get every year from Liz Wallach in memory of Bev Pulaski. So we'll do the same thing we did before where we display them in the library.
Yeah.
But we also, because they go quickly,
Yeah.
we pull the older books.
Oh, all of
And
the
put
ones
those
over
out
the years.
too. Yeah,
That's awesome.
so.
And for those of you who don't know, Bev was a longtime employee, succumbed to cancer. She was just a precious person, and her friend always donated for her books in her area of interest. So, super. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes of the May 23rd meeting. One thing I noticed under business section or item A, is that supposed under business section or item A, is that supposed to be Bob Tesh, not John Tesh?
Yeah.
Come on, John Tesh is a classic.
I know. I saw that and I almost left it, but I thought we better
believe I didn't
correct
catch
it.
Nobody can fault me.
We better
I didn't
correct it.
Nobody can fault me.
So no, I didn't fault you for it, Judy. I just thought maybe.
Are you moving to amend that, Maria?
I would like to move to amend that, and then under the report of the Franklin Public Library Foundation, the foundation plans to host a literary luncheon. Should we, I know that was probably addressed as that. Is that okay if we amend that also instead of just a luncheon? Because I know that's how it has been.
Move it correct.
Telling Judy so she can make those corrections. So are there any other comments on the minutes? And then I will make the motion. Okay, then I move to accept the minutes with the corrections. That was Mike, Maria and Mike. Any favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, Judy Miller abstains.
Mike seconded, right?
Mike seconded, yep. Motion passes with an abstention from Judy Miller. Okay, we will move on to our Finance Committee. Alan?
Okay, Fund 15 invoices. I did not
Yes.
find anything out of the ordinary, and so I'm looking for a motion to approve for Fund 15, $13,000. Motion to approve for Fund 15, $13,236.77.
I so moved.
Annie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Ravian. I see people still looking, so any other comments or questions about the Fund 15 vouchers? Okay, all in favor of approving that motion?
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Then moving on to Fund 16.
Fund 16, the same thing, nothing really out of the ordinary. We did have, we have more charges coming through for people who are putting on an event.
Mhm.
But again, it all was normal operating expenses. So I'm looking for a motion to approve $7,603.67.
I so move.
Annie? Any, do I have a second?
Second.
Ravian? Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. All right, continue, Alan.
Okay. Looking at the financials for Fund 15. Well, first of all, this report represents, and Fund 15, the revenues are 94.78% of the budget, which is most of the money that we should expect. Our investment earnings were positive for the month, but year to
Right.
date, they're still negative. Although we made some progress there.
Mhm.
Budget. And individual expenditures, as I went through there, looked like what we should have been anticipating.
Mhm.
Didn't see anything jump out. Unless anyone has any questions, I'm going to move on to Fund 16.
Any questions or comments on Fund 15?
How does that come out as 298.76% budget used? Like how do you
What
arrive at that
line
number?
or what?
Well,
Oh,
because it's $3,361, but the budget is $1,125.
Okay.
So it's almost 3 times what it is. That's why it'd be 300%. Or close to 300%.
mhm.
But that number is always going up and down, right?
Correct.
Well, we'd like it to only go up.
Okay.
Before we move out of Fund 15.
Okay.
Before we move out of Fund 15,
Okay.
we haven't used very much, and I'm looking at capital outlay. We haven't used very much for capital outlay. So do we have plans for the second half of the year to
Yeah.
spend that money?
Yeah, because they haven't even
To
Yeah.
spend that money?
they haven't even they just started work on the building for all those capital all the
The capital
the
improvements,
capital
the,
improvements
Right.
from the IRS work. So yeah, you're gonna start seeing that go up work. So yeah, you're gonna start seeing that go up. I mean, money being spent.
I also have a question, and I take it we rent 2 copiers because it's 2 different companies. One's 15 because it's 2 different companies. One's 15 and one's 16. But I see copier rental on 2 different.
Yeah, Fund 15, that's the staff copier.
Okay.
So that's paid out of our municipal budget.
And the other one.
Fund 16, we take in all the our municipal budget.
And the other one.
Fund 16, we take in all the copier money and that gets deposited in Fund 16, so we
Mhm.
pay for it out of Fund 16.
Okay.
that's like the public
Right.
copier.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's-
Does that make
And
sense?
and then there's a printer over by the adult computers.
Yeah.
that's-
Does that make
And
sense?
and then there's a printer over by the adult computers.
Yep.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense.
Mike, did that answer your question also?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions on Fund 15? Go ahead, Alan.
Okay.
Questions on Fund 15? Go ahead, Alan.
Okay. Fund 16. Total revenue is 47.23% of what we had budgeted, so we're ahead of the 41.37%, which is a part of the year that we're through, and percent, which is a part of the year that we're through, and these results are stronger than what we budgeted, obviously, and it was led by donations and fines.
And I have a question about donations.
Yes.
Under that dispersed in other areas, or is that truly just donations?
This is just donations.
Just
Because the
donations.
$5,000 grant we got went in Fund 15. And
Okay,
you see it up at the top.
and revenue.
So, if you look in revenue at the top of Fund 15, it says other grants. That's where the grant that we got from United Way
Gotcha.
went.
Okay, donations,
Yep.
okay.
And then expenditures, were there any other questions before we move on? Expenditures were 37.52% of the budget, only office supplies, which is account 5312, which is at 72.83% of it against supplies.
And the supplies includes all the summer
Right.
reading
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And we will always ask that, because we always forget it, and it never shows up, so it's always a red flag in most of our minds, yes. In most of our minds, yes.
Then moving on to the cash register report. This is the detail of Fund 16's revenue accounts, and it was perfect second month in a row.
Whoa,
I think third.
What about 4419?
Second month in a row.
whoa.
I think third.
What about 4419? That was off by $6.
What?
Well, it says 837.53 on the bottom, and then we've got taxable sales copies for 4419 in your monthly summary of 843.53. Everything else monthly summary of 843.53. Everything else matches up, but that's $6 different.
Oh, Mike.
Sorry, I was just waiting for Alan to explain where the $6 was, and he didn't.
Yeah, I don't.
4419, the general ledger account is 843.53, worth of $6.
The column total says 837.53.
Oh, but if you go to
Oh,
the last two
okay.
columns,
Yeah.
those are also account 4419.
4419
And
is
that is the-
837 plus 4 plus 2.
3 columns for the same thing?
Well, they're
That's
different.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, because they're all taxable. Three. Thank goodness. I was
Arm
like,
wrestle later.
Coffee and miscellaneous.
yeah.
Get you every time.
Yep.
It will. Miscellaneous.
$2 in one, $4 in the
There
other.
you go. 6.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Adds up.
You're on top of it.
Yeah, way.
So coffee sales have not been going well.
Well, the problem is that they keep the money at the information desk, and then they deposit like a big chunk at once. So
Oh.
June's going to show more. I think a big chunk at once. So
Oh.
June's going to show more. I think we had just started selling it
Yeah,
right here.
like a month or 2
Yeah.
or 3 ago.
Yeah. So I wouldn't. I mean, like we started selling it right when we had that heat wave.
Right,
Time for iced coffee.
Yeah. We had that heat wave.
right.
Time for iced coffee.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ice. Oh, yeah.
And then the last report is a credit card summary. And it was slightly high at $2,999. It was slightly high at $2,999, but I think that's as expected with all the summer events that are going on
Right.
and the things that we're paying through the credit card, including some of the people who are doing presentations.
Yeah.
So I had no problem with that at all. You want me to go right into the?
All right. I was going to say that concludes, correct, the monthly treasurer's report. And that now we have a reporter's report. And that now we have a report from the finance committee.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Alan.
Okay. The meeting was on June 2nd, and we revised, well, as it says here, revised the capital improvement fund balance for the five-year projection.
Do we need to approve these minutes, or do you approve them at the next
No.
finance committee?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
And one of the, in the budget. And that was almost the extent of the meeting, other than we had this draft of the 5-year plan that I put together and some of the changes we made. And Jennifer, did you pass out the updated one?
Yes.
Okay, so
Everybody
we
got that.
received, in our packet, and then this was out on the table today. So are we looking at the
Yeah. That's what you're
most
looking at.
brand newest thing? So those of you referencing things from your packet and your computer probably want to instead look at, the paperwork that's at each of our spots. I think that is the most current.
I can give you one. I thought I did.
You know, there's a
That's a good
capital improvement. Okay, there's a capital improvement fund balance and a budget report
The capital improvement,
was in our packet.
was it in the packet?
And we discussed it at the meeting.
We had discussed,
Right,
was it in the packet?
And we discussed it at the meeting.
We had
right,
discussed it at the last
okay,
meeting.
all right.
And then this budget that,
Draft report on, that we received tonight.
yeah,
Okay,
if you look at the one that we had in the packet, if you look at the one that we had in the packet, just to make this as confusing as possible.
right,
But that one, the columns right at the top, let's say wages percent, then you see 5%, 3%, 2.5%, 2.5%, and inflation percent, and the percentage is going across. 3%, 2.5%, 2.5%, and inflation percent, and the percentage is going across. At the meeting, we brought up that the way inflation is going right now, what we had in there for inflation at 2.5%, and that's why you have the new one here, we said that wasn't gonna do it. Inflation was gonna be worse than that.
okay.
And we changed that,
Oh, I see,
it's gonna be worse than that.
okay.
And we changed that
Oh, I see,
to 5%.
gotcha.
And we also talked about utilities, with the price of gas, natural gas, gasoline, oil.
Yeah.
Those things were gonna be higher, and the utilities were probably gonna be higher than that. And we threw out a number of 10%. These were probably gonna be higher than that. And we threw out a number of 10%. And so what I do is I enter those percentages across the top, and all the other columns underneath it are multiplied from the
Right.
prior budget times, that adds 10% or 5% or whatever it says across there, to get the new budget for 2023. And if we change any of these numbers again, you only change the one number up on top, and it flushes
Everything,
through.
right.
So that's why we have those percentages going across the top, and that's how this budget that I put together works.
Knowing what the city is gonna plug in 23, 24, and beyond.
Right.
But this is our best guess at what's going forward.
We tried to get ahead of it,
Right.
so that we could see what we would like to see on the city's budget, so when we get what we get,
We can have some
talk
talk.
about it, yeah.
Okay,
So will they, that's what they'll do, but they would bring up something like that too, the inflation of.
You would hope.
well,
I would hope so.
But they also want us to spend on our fund balance, so maybe they,
don't care, or
Don't care,
like,
they're-
that's one way of doing it.
yeah. If they don't, it comes out of fund balance.
Okay,
As long as it's stuff that can come out of the fund balance.
Right.
Right,
Right.
which means that we would have to
Because fund balance, you're right, should be.
over budget in some areas where we know we're gonna,
I mean, I just
Make sure
fear
we have the
with
money.
utilities or gas prices, that 10% might not be enough.
right,
How it is
Right.
utilities or gas prices, that 10% might not be enough.
right,
How it is
Right.
right now, I mean, hopefully it's gonna go
Bingo,
down, but
right.
when they get this much money in their pockets, I just don't see it ever going to what it was.
which is why we're doing the,
Yeah.
to have a talking point with them.
Yeah.
To have a talking point with them, to try to help them realize. And again, I just want to, reiterate, the finance committee is bringing this to us, and the committee has worked hard on figuring this all out. And so we don't necessarily all need to rehash this.
Right.
I'll need to rehash this.
Right, no,
But, no. I want to make sure that if any of us see anything on this, that we address it. And then just for Doris to, you know, we keep talking about fund balance and paying it down, but not everything in our budget.
Yeah.
And so there are things that maybe increase that we can't pay out of fund balance, that we have to figure out how to find other ways to pay for those things. And so that's a challenge too. Fund balance cannot just be used for anything in our budget. So that's why it's super important that, so that we make sure that we have stability for the things in our budget that we need that money there for, because we can't just pull out of fund balance for it.
Because
Yeah.
what would you need a budget for otherwise?
Right.
And at the end of this report that we just received, the last is our minimum. And so you see the 100,000 going across. How the workings I did of this budget is when I got to the end, there's another line beneath that one that's all zeros. Well, if there's any dollars there that say that we're ahead or behind, I take those up to the first page, and that's where that goes, and that's added in there to say, here's what the city, we're anticipating them giving us, $1,340,500. In 2024, an additional needed of $149,604 for us to get through all these costs,
To make that zero a
to
zero.
make that zero.
Zero a zero, okay.
The other thing is, I'm assuming that that's with a fund balance of $100,000.
Right,
Obviously, with what we're spending on the capital, I don't think we're gonna bring it down that far unless they make us pay for the parking lot.
Well,
right,
especially if we're budgeting the numbers that we're budgeting
Right.
within our regular budget to go against that.
Right.
And we should always budget what we anticipate and plan for,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know.
What are we doing with this? Are we gonna present it to some, what are we doing with this? Are we gonna present it to somebody over at the city and say, this is what we need, in particular, the highlighting the additional needed in order to?
I'd love to meet with who's ever gonna be working on the budget and talk to them about it and explain to them how I put this together, why I think these numbers are, explain to them how I put this together, why I think these numbers are gonna be pretty good. And they have their rationale as to what they would wanna do. But if we can come to a meeting of the minds, at least we'll feel like we are making some progress with that.
I think there's a combination of things. I think the fight, if it's my understanding, is attempting to meet with this new person who is probably really busy right now jumping into this at this time of the year. But I think that's on their agenda. Am I correct? At least you or Jennifer?
I've talked
Yeah,
to Jennifer and say,
right.
if there's any way that you're gonna
Right.
be meeting with her for a meeting, if you can let us know. For brought up is at what point, as we add people to that meeting with Jennifer, do we get to that meeting needs to be posted?
Oh, sure. Okay.
We had one
If
person,
it's like you and Alan, right.
maybe, and maybe even with me
I don't
it is.
know.
That's why I
Right.
told Jennifer, say you're gonna have a meeting and
Gotcha.
as visitors or,
Yeah.
then we don't.
I
have to
mean,
post it.
because
I
you don't
wasn't
have to
sure about-
post your meetings with Peggy Stino.
But I
Yeah, but
wasn't
it's
sure
just
about,
one-on-one meetings, it's not with board member present.
Right,
But technically, you're not a board member, Alan
Correct.
is the only board
Right.
member.
correct,
Is the only board
Right.
member.
correct.
yeah.
And don't we all, as public citizens, have the right to meet with people if
But-
we want to, but not as a
But it's a budget
representative of the
planning
board?
meeting.
Yeah, but if Mike and
Yes.
Terry wanna show up, I mean,
Right,
we don't wanna prevent them from being there.
right. We'll let
They
you
could
figure
always
that out.
notice it.
No, we can-
I mean, as long as I notice it within,
We'll let
they
you
could
figure
always
that out.
notice it.
no, we can-
I mean, as long as I notice it within, 24 hours, I'm fine.
Okay.
I mean, the same thing. with
Better
the
to be
board.
safe than
Who's-
sorry.
Who's gonna show up? Nobody.
Right, but it's probably better to be safe than sorry. Kristen, do you have any? Okay.
I have a question about the capital improvement fund. I have a question about the capital improvement fund.
So you're going back to the draft version of, and my printer printed the numbers on top of each other, but it's the capital improvement fund balance 5-year projection,
Yeah.
correct? Okay. So
That
let's highlight balance 5-year projection,
Yeah.
correct? Okay. So
That
let's highlight,
I think you said you talked about it the last meeting. So I wasn't clear.
These,
The
so,
things highlighted in blue, are obviously the major a commitment from the city that fund?
The parking lot, yes. The air cooled parking lot, yes. The air cooled chiller, no. But it's very possible. Toes.
And it's not this year, so you're not that worried about it.
It's right now it's 2024, it could be pushed back. You know, everything seems right now it's 2024, it could be pushed back. You know, everything seems to be getting pushed back a little bit because they're
Yeah.
starting a little bit later than they had hoped. But at least things are happening now. So,
And there's been conversation,
Mhm.
which has lacked in years past. And it seems like we're working better with the city, but
and I think the parking lot will happen in 2023. I think
that,
they're
yeah.
because I think that they are sincerely worried about it deteriorating more and having to do even more than the 415,000. So the 415 would just be for the asphalt. The library would still be responsible for the concrete portion. One thing I will note is after I did this, Peggy emailed me because I guess since the time when IRS came and evaluated our roof, we had even more of those gutter guards. I don't know what happened. I asked Bob, what happens to them? Replace the gutter copper ice
Copper
guard
ice guard.
installation. So that doubled. Because we
And
had
that's
that
gonna be
many
on
more.
us.
Yeah.
Pick them up and put them back on.
Do they have to be copper?
Right. That's what I was wondering. And if they're laying out in the parking lot, are they
Maybe somebody's,
confiscating them? And are they
maybe
confiscating
somebody's,
them? And
maybe that's what's happening
maybe
to
the
them.
materials wouldn't
They're
be as.
pretty high up though, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's getting
And we
those?
did have a lot of snow last year. Like, because I think they were here before we had, they were here during the COVID, because I think they were here before we had, they were here during the COVID closure. So that would have been March of 2020. That winter of 2021, we had like a ton of snow.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that's when they all went bye-bye with the snow. So that was, bye with the snow. So that was,
that's
So this is another one of those weird things that crosses, even though the city owns the building, the library is still responsible for that.
because we have a fund balance. Is what I was told. Because why go out and borrow? Why borrow when we have savings to pay for it? You know. So.
Because in fact, we are all one big city of Franklin.
We're one big happy family.
So we can't do,
All one big city of Franklin.
We're one big happy family.
so we can't do whatever we feel fit for that.
Yeah.
Like it.
You cannot use fund balance.
correct.
You can pay personnel costs.
Exactly. That is
They say personnel and operating.
operating.
Anything operating, right?
Personnel and operating we cannot use fund balance for that.
Because
Those are huge. Yeah, challenging.
Any other questions?
Any other questions about the awesome job that our finance committee, Mike and Terry and Alan
that is a huge feat.
and Jennifer?
Yeah, not me.
Well, and this is gonna be really helpful going forward too, and we at least have some, adjust those percentages and easily see what the other numbers will do, so the setup was really good too.
And I just want to thank them too, because this just plays into our commitment and our strategic plan to address this stuff and to make a plan for our capital. Yeah.
Yep.
Capital outlay. And 3 of you, yes. All right. We are going to move on to agenda item 6, business. There continues to be discussion and information about the patio, ramp, the walkway, mudjacking, about the patio, ramp, the walkway, mudjacking versus,
So I went to Bob,
Replacement.
after our last meeting, I went to Bob and I said the library board would like to do the mudjacking. Well, then he ran it by Peggy
Yes.
and IRS one more time and of course they said the fact that the patio was and of course they said the fact that the patio was sunk as much as it has tells them that mudjacking is probably even less temporary than what Bob had told me. Bob had told me originally 5 to 10 years because that's typically how
Right.
long.
And that's how
mudjacking
the last
lasts.
time it was mudjacked about 10
Yeah,
years ago. Last
lasts.
time it was mudjacked about 10 years
Yeah.
ago,
Right.
or 8 or something.
It was in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost 10.
So because of that, we did have IRS look at it, and
The patio or the front?
patio. Well, both.
Okay.
Both are already doing mudjack. They're already doing fixes to some of those walkway concrete
Pieces?
squares that are
Okay.
unlevel.
Uneven?
So they're just adding on the two that I brought up
Okay.
that could catch your toe.
Okay.
So that was easy.
IRS is
IRS is
contractor
overseeing
for
this.
the-
Yeah.
After people. Sounds like a
Well, now IRS is not getting, they don't get a percentage of this. I mean, they're being paid to oversee the whole project,
but
they're
it's not like they're making
it's
money
not like
off
they're
it.
making money on us
Okay.
spending 27,000. Basically came back, PLM came and looked at it. And they came back with a $27,000 bid.
To do what?
So basically, it would be redoing the entire patio.
Like digging it up and putting down a new
Because
base.
they
and
don't
a new-
think any, they,
down a new
because
base.
they
and a
don't
new-
think any, they,
So what is the mudjacking place, who is totally separate from IRS?
yeah, that was Mud Tech.
And what did they say about the patio?
Well, they
would do it
it for 90,
for the
9,600.
9600.
Yeah,
Are they the ones that mudjacked it 10 years for the 9600?
Yeah,
Are they the ones that mudjacked it 10 years ago?
I believe so because I believe this is the company that Bob works with.
And what is their opinion about mudjacking something that's already been mudjacked? And how
We'd
far
have to
it's
ask them.
deteriorated?
Yeah.
Okay. How
We'd
far
have to
it's
ask them.
deteriorated?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we just got one estimate from PLM.
We just have the one.
Are we, because of our relationship with the city and IRS and all of that, can we, I mean, we should be able to independently get another estimate? We should be able to independently get another estimate?
I was gonna say,
Oh, I don't see why we
third
couldn't.
estimate out of somebody who's totally different.
I mean, yeah,
Their
I mean,
opinion.
I don't,
Why, we don't have to have that as part of the whole thing.
right. We don't have to move forward with PLM on this. It's, right. We don't have to move forward with PLM on this. It's just they're here right now, so I don't know if that, I'd have to ask if the fact that they're here right now, is there cost savings with that?
So the fact that Avenue, because of hydric soils, and I know this was built on a lot of hydric soils, I saw this. Are they planning to put fabric down? Because that's what we do on, things like Drexel, when they're, and it lasts a lot longer. So it's
Soil analysis first.
well, the soil analysis is done, and basically, water can drain, so 10 inches of gravel,
Mm-hmm.
or you can put gravel plus fabric down, which is even more stable, so we can do it with this much gravel, and it'll actually down, and you might get 12, you doubled it. But of course, double the price, so something's like,
Right.
and the price of everything's kind of going up. But,
Right.
so I guess that's what I was wondering, what are they gonna do for that? Just rip it
Well,
up?
They don't say anything about fabric. They talk about they're going to excavate. So they have to move those big, humongous concrete planters off,
Yeah,
Sure.
and they'll have to empty them.
Sure.
So our planters off,
yeah.
Sure.
and they'll have to empty them.
Sure.
So our tree that's growing there will have to be relocated. Might be able to be relocated and then put back in after.
They're gonna put in footing?
They'll excavate, removing existing concrete, install stone bases required to bring area to proper depth, install stone bases required to bring area to proper depth, fine grade and compact aggregate base adding waters required to achieve optimal compaction, drill and pin, if required, into adjacent concrete and drive in 1/2 inch steel bars, frame and pour 5 inches of concrete using 4,000 psi air entrained low chert concrete with micro synthetic fiber. But that's
Okay.
fiber reinforcement. That's in the concrete.
And I just have a question, the mud jacking, do we have any reason to believe,
He said the fact that it has
who said,
IRS.
IRS?
Yeah.
IRS or PLO?
IRS.
I thought IRS was an expert in this.
What was
What did PLM
PLM's,
They just gave us
the
bid.
quote on the patio?
That's all
Okay.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
those planters probably should not go back on it, the weight of them is causing these, so.
Could be, they are
That's-
very
We
heavy.
should design it so those are off of it, so.
And it
So
would
it's
give us
either
more
IRS or
space.
PLM looking back at the fact that 45 years ago when I was a kid, I sat on the edge of a lagoon. It was a swamp. This was like
Yeah.
a lake. And do any of these people look at the history of this ground when they do that? And where are those records? Are they going over to the city and looking at those records when they're deciding this and looking at the fact that maybe we need fabric and
I would go the whole excavate.
Replacement,
and the whole-
yeah.
Then you might as well relook at, how do you want the patio? Because I know you had talked about putting
I
something over the top and whatever, like then that's the time to
I want a party patio.
right? But I mean, really.
we want to rent it out for weddings.
The time to relook at the whole thing and redesign if you're gonna redesign. But if we're not looking for, because that's gonna be a long process, even if they have to excavate and whatever, like, you're not using it this summer, that's for.
My only worry is that right now the patio isn't yet draining into the building, but it's
Right.
Close there.
it's close. You
Right,
know,
you need to
any
make
more
a-
sinking, and yes, we will get water in the building.
Right, a decision needs to be made
Right.
sooner than
Now-
later, but.
I'm scheduled to meet with Bill from PLM. No, Bill from IRS, sorry.
Okay.
My acronym, meet with Bill from PLM. No, Bill from IRS, sorry.
Okay.
My acronyms are getting mixed up. Bill from IRS on Friday. They're having he has a weekly meeting with the city. And after that, he's going to come over with Peggy and he's going to walk through and tell me exactly what this is. I can bring up I can make this a meeting and notice it. Because I thought, well, maybe the Building and Grounds Committee should be there. Friday morning, July 1st. Friday morning, July 1st.
They've been using it more for programming because of
Hey, we were just on it
COVID.
last
I mean-
week for some of the kids program.
They-
Last
I mean-
week for some of the kids program.
Yeah, we use it for programming. I would say I would love to have those concrete planters off of it. Because that really cuts down on being able to
Space.
seat people out there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind that.
I think in the past couple of years, even the foundation had a meeting out there one
Yeah,
time.
we did during
I mean,
COVID.
Yeah.
Couple.
I was just gonna make a point of that, you know, outdoor spaces have become very popular. And
Right.
I think it would be wise to design something that would be nice out.
Like, we should sink the fund balance into it.
And then maybe they'll pay for.
I mean, I do think that it could be utilized a little bit better than it is.
I think if we
Yeah, I think so
improved
too.
it,
If there
it
was
could be
improvement.
offered as a.
Right.
But the problem is, I have the money budgeted now. I think that's kind of the.
And that's where, do we want to do the temporary budget? I don't know.
You know.
Just to bring it up
I
until
think
we have a
should get
plan.
Third estimate. be
Yeah.
honest.
Oh,
just
yeah.
'cause we don't, like, they're just, we don't know, they're like so two different reasons.
$1,000, it should be a planned design. It
Right.
should not be, we're spending some $1,000 to do the same thing again and
Right.
get potentially the same result. Like, we need to figure out why it did what, it did, and then how are we gonna use it for spending that much money?
Maybe we bought deck instead. We're one of those decks made out of the.
The recycled
track.
woods, yeah.
Yeah.
So do we need to go through Bob to get another opinion, or
Yeah.
can you get, another opinion, or
Yeah.
can you get,
Well, I mean, I can, if you
Another
want to send
estimate.
me, anybody wants to send me names, I can pass them on to Bob, but I leave all that up to Bob.
I would just have Bob look and pick somebody else.
completely different? Okay. Okay,
I mean, just pick unbiased.
Foundation help us raise funds to put a deck like.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
I mean, public space is so,
I have a vision
make money.
of like lights,
right.
you know, and maybe even a
Have
sunshade.
electric run out to the edge so
Outdoor
that,
movies.
Yeah, outdoor movies. Yep.
Oh, yeah, we've got everything else we can,
why don't you ask,
Coffee bar.
have a bar out there?
And then margaritas are that.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not limited to coffee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
Popular library room.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't mind,
Just put the coffee
you know,
bar.
listening into that meeting Friday, so if you feel you have to notice it, but I don't know how the
30. They have their. No, I'm sorry. 11. No, I'm sorry. It would be after 11 because they have their check-in meeting with the city at 10.
Okay.
So it would be until after that. So we're probably looking at like 11:20.
I can come.
I have to walk around with a recorder.
Oh, sure. You can do
I think I have to record the meeting.
Okay. Yes, you will.
So yeah, I've got to figure that out by Friday.
Sam.
I can just my
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
In showing up Friday at 11 without a promise of a time, 11:15, you think maybe?
It's gonna be around
Knowing that
11:15,
it might not be till
11:30.
11:30?
It
Okay.
just depends on when they get done with their check-in meeting.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna notice it just to.
Yeah, just to cover.
Yeah.
Sure. Alrighty. We are gonna go on to a review of the bylaws, and we did not get to this last month, huh?
Notes that I've been carrying with me.
I know, right?
And now I forgot.
Oh, and this Jennifer didn't send them out this month because she. Oh, and this Jennifer didn't send them out this month because she did last month. I think the. So I'd like to spend at least. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes because that past discussion was a little long. But I feel like we need to make a little progress on this. The first thing we're a little long, but I feel like we need to make a little progress on this. The first thing we are going to do, Judy and Jennifer and Judy, I think,
Mostly Judy.
pardon?
Mostly Judy.
Mostly Judy, worked on the meeting attendance draft language. And just to review for everybody, we are working through the bylaws. Any major wording changes, I think we're going to eventually get a group of people together to do that. But I think we're going to look at this one particular thing just to make sure between the three of them. So let's look at this. This goes back to, for anybody looking at the bylaws on their computer, this would be under Article 2, Section Meeting Attendance. So that's where it is in the bylaws. And the current language states, I think it's getting around there, that the trustees shall be expected to attend all board meetings except as they are by a valid reason. And we decided with all the changes in technology and situation, that we wanted to revise that, and Judy Miller graciously brought, wording from the school board. And then Judy Williams-Kalaki looking from the school board. And then Judy Williams-Kalaki looked at it from her point of view, and
This
so,
actually doesn't have my changes yet, so.
oh, okay,
I did look at it, so.
perfect. So, the revised language, says that trustees shall be expected to, says that trustees shall be expected to physically attend all meetings unless an extenuating circumstance prevents them from doing so. In such a case, the president may grant permission for the trustee to participate in any board meeting or committee meeting by phone or video conference. A quorum shall be determined using trustee members who are physically present. All votes taken during a meeting where a trustee attends by telephone or video conference shall be by roll call vote. Trustees shall not be conducted within the provisions of Wisconsin open meeting laws. So first of all, Judy Williams-Kalaki, what did you suggest or see in that?
Yeah, so I had suggested that trustees shall be expected to attend all meetings in person instead of saying physically.
Okay,
And then instead of saying unless an extenuating, they could be able to make it, but there's some extenuating
Sure.
circumstance that
What's a
exists.
vacation? You know,
Maybe that is an extenuating circumstance, I don't know. But I think if we have prevented them from doing so, it's just a little bit more narrow.
gotcha.
And then my only other two comments were, I think the role, my concern is that.
The very, very
Yeah, the
last one,
very
the
last one, because we're
participation,
supposed to be compliant with open meeting laws
anyway.
all the time anyway.
Right, and that's probably somewhere else in our bylaws.
That was just my reaction, I don't know. But I didn't wanna suggest like that we weren't doing it.
Right, and though in this case we would, okay,
Yeah.
yep. Right, and though in this case we would, okay,
Yeah.
yep, I
Yeah.
understand, yep.
So those were my only comments.
I think we'll still have, at the very, very end of looking at our bylaws, have whatever group of us wants to meet and go over this, look at our bylaws. Have whatever group of us wants to meet and go over this, look at this again. So this doesn't have to be a final decision on this, but are there any other comments on this wording?
Yeah, how do you have,
Wording?
yeah, how do you have the person?
That's,
Counted as part of a quorum?
that was my question. If the person's not counted as part of the quorum, can they vote then?
Yeah, that doesn't really specify that in here.
Quorum, can they vote then?
Yeah, that doesn't really specify that in here, if they kind of not.
Well, it says they can vote, yeah, that's true.
In order to
Correct, correct. Okay.
But it doesn't prevent individuals who are not physically present from
Voting,
fully participating in the meeting.
okay.
If a quorum shall be determined using the trustees who are physically present, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then it says all votes taken during the meeting where a trustee attends by telephone or by roll call vote. Are you counting are you allowing the person on the phone to vote or not? Because if they're not part of it, well, then they have to be.
No, the quorum is to open the door so you can start the meeting. Then that, the voting is a part of the meeting and where you're trying to get something done, and have the meeting. If you don't have a quorum, you can't have a
Well,
meeting.
I understand that, but typically all members present.
But-
And that's what you're saying because they're not present in the room.
Yeah,
So your common quorum is all members present in the room. And that
in that form, they should be acknowledging.
Or
and
consternation
you're acknowledging that
because
person is-
Well, the
you've got
votes
like
are-
two different rules for whether it's a meeting or not.
No, what's gonna happen
Right.
is your votes are based on a majority of a quorum. So now you have a quorum set, and you say that your quorum is 4, and all of a sudden you have 5 people, now you have a majority of what, 4 or 5? Are you gonna go by the quorum or the people that can vote?
But you can have a quorum at the beginning of the meeting and lose a quorum during the middle of the meeting and you can still vote. You just have to have a
Right,
quorum
you
at the beginning of the
But
meeting.
you still, if you lose a person, you still have a quorum based on the other person.
Who left and is not voting?
Right,
Who left and is not voting?
right.
So how would it be any different? Because
It depends on how many people.
What if you had a quorum, you barely had the quorum to start the meeting, and then 2 more people showed up 15, 20 minutes into the meeting? Can they not vote? 15, 20 minutes into the meeting, can they not vote?
No, that's not,
Right, but you're trying to limit the voting to the number of people who make the quorum. And
no, I'm not trying, I'm just saying, I don't know how you cannot count the person out of the room as part of the quorum, because once they come in the room, they can make up a quorum.
And that person to compose the quorum because of technology. Right, and so you have 3 people, the person's video conferencing and that fails, you can't open the
Right.
quorum. That's your business, but it isn't as if that person doesn't matter, they're on the board, they can vote. But you do roll call for that same reason, because technology is difficult to translate when someone says aye, and you're like, does that come from, you know?
Right,
So
right.
that's why I think that we deal with a school district that require a full quorum of the board. to take- So we're pretty picky about that language in our policy, kind of where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
For example.
Right, I'm sure.
But anyway, that's why I think it's worded this way.
The quorum, so that no matter, I mean, if there's a,
Because you could have public there and then no meeting,
right,
because that person's technology didn't work for you.
right.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
that way,
And again,
that makes sense,
yeah.
that way.
And again, I think all of this will be looked at again before we finalize the bylaws. It has to be. So,
It was intended to give more flexibility. You know,
Right,
there were days
for sure.
in the last
Yep.
5 years where it was pretty snowy and
Sure.
the rest of you too.
Yeah.
You know, with illnesses or whatever else.
Right.
Just the way it was written, you had no flexibility.
Well,
right,
and there was that time when it was super cold, and you were like, "There's no way I can get my car
Right.
to get there." And
Right.
so, in that case, you weren't able to.
right,
Mhm.
right. And you were willing to call in or video in, but yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for working on that. Thank you for your comments on the wording of that, Judy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Judy, for bringing that wording in. So, I never set my time, but I looked at the clock. We are going to go on to where we left off. We actually left off then, Article 3, Officers, Section 5, about the secretary. And there was just the secretary, with the assistance of the library director, as necessary and appropriate, shall keep a true and accurate record of all meetings of the board, shall issue notice of all regular and special meetings, and shall perform other duties as are generally associated with that office. That is where we left duties as are generally associated with that office. That is where we left off, and that brought up some questions. So I did research on that. I looked at specifically whatever section this is, I think it is the Trustees Essential Handbook for Wisconsin Public Library Trustees. And I think that when these bylaws were approved, they took the wording out of this Wisconsin thing. Were approved, they took the wording out of this Wisconsin thing. Because the wording is exactly copied. However, they have a sentence at the end. I think Judy's concern is that Judy is not noticing the meetings. And so we are in our own bylaws. She is not noticing our meetings, our special meetings, our committee meetings. And so there was a concern there. So in the Wisconsin handbook for trustees, they have an extra sentence that says the library director or a member of the staff may be designated by the board to perform any or all of the above duties. Add that back in. And that might just solve the problem. So Judy, I can read it again or get that to you, the library
You
director?
can, yeah, just email it to me.
Okay.
And I'll-
Perfect. All right. So that brings us up to section 6 about the treasurer, and we only have, I don't know how recently you've read through our bylaws, everybody. Does anybody see anything in that section on the treasurer? Like wages, salaries, and we have approved things to be paid prior to our meeting, if there are due dates on things, that's all in there. Alan, do you notice anything in there?
Yeah, the thing about such transmittal, they're talking about transmittal shall include a statement signed by the treasurer. I've never done it.
Okay,
I mean,
Oh.
we go through, we approve all the bills as a board, and then Jennifer takes them to the city for payment.
okay, so when the two of you meet, you don't necessarily sign.
After this meeting, saying,
Right.
we've looked at it, board's approved it. Right, so
Do you know-
that's like the additional step.
I think prior to BSNA, maybe they did.
I
but-
was gonna ask, was that based on the past? So was something
'cause
happening
it's
in the
all
past?
paper.
What does the president sign? You have a stamp for the president to sign something at the end of the meeting.
I just stamp the vouchers list that it's been approved. But it's the president, not the treasurer, so maybe I should get the treasurer to sign it.
Yeah, that's what I'm. 'cause
And
I
Alan
remember
can just sign
signing
it after he looks through it, he could just quickly sign it
Yeah.
and date it.
So instead
That's
of,
approved.
Yeah, because
Doesn't have to
mine
be
ain't
anything more
nothing
than
gets
that.
signed quickly.
Or you can wait until after the meeting in case something comes up.
sure, okay,
Well, you can sign it during the meeting after we go.
Right.
After we,
through the
yeah.
numbers, so
Yeah.
Okay.
that's what we heard. When I was reading this, it said the board shall audit and approve any such payment at its next regular meeting. Are we supposed to be auditing the payment of salaries?
that was a question too, but again, is that prior to automatic direct deposit and like the
Well, it doesn't suggest that it suggests that the city, but we're supposed to be auditing the city, but we're supposed to be auditing and approving the payroll payments. That's the way I read it,
right.
which we don't do.
What,
For
Yeah.
Judy, where is that in here? I'm not finding it.
Okay,
it's
so
towards the
this,
bottom.
Now it's
It's
standing
like
above regular wages or.
Here, I'm not finding it.
Okay,
it's
so
towards
this,
the bottom.
Now it's
It's
standing
like
above regular wages or salary or other recurring payments authorized by the board and verified by the library director may be paid by the city's finance department by the due date, or in the case of salaries by the regular payday. Then it says the board shall audit and approve any such payment at its next regular meeting.
so we
And approve any such payment at its next regular meeting.
don't even
Oh,
have
oh.
control over any salaries and wages except for Jennifer, Carrie, and Maureen.
No, but they're saying every payment to them,
Right.
we're supposed to be approving.
Right,
We don't do anything like that.
So I guess that all needs,
We're supposed to be approving.
right.
We don't do anything like that.
so I guess that all needs to be taken out.
Well, what does the manual say?
Not really.
This?
Yeah, does it have a treasurer section which says?
Oh, the state one?
Yeah.
But if
Okay,
if it's in the city, if the city does it,
Well, the city is not supposed to be taken, they can't legislate away our rights.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's out.
So let me first go back to this. Okay, so this looks like 2016. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Treasurer shall co-sign held at the library.
Right.
And this is just to back up a little bit, this is just a sample, like a sample of bylaws. This is not what the state is saying you have to have as bylaws. This is a sample. So this is a sample of what it might want to sound like.
Say over.
Well, this is just, yeah.
16 years ago, too, though.
Well, this is 2016. Okay. So it shall co-sign all checks, sign all vouchers, perform such duties as generally devolve upon the office, shall be bonded in an amount as may be required by a resolution of the board, not less than the value of any property held by him or her, shall make monthly reports to the board showing in detail the amount of and investment of the income and disbursements from the funds of his or her charge. So it doesn't actually address the wages or anything.
Jennifer, do you get like a copy each like payday of like how much everybody's given? No, you don't even see how much they're paying the
No.
employees?
I mean, I know annually I get, have the annual sheet.
It's not,
sheet.
it's not gonna be a task.
Right.
And you,
Right.
you don't do, you don't motion,
Approve. Right.
but you are looking at it.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
We are given that information to look at.
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
school board, they have a separate checking account, and treasurer, I would sign something, and they would make a stamp to print it
Sure.
on the check. I never signed any check. And here, we don't even have our own checking account. The city pays
Right,
everything.
right.
You couldn't have me co-sign anything.
Right. Right. So the wording on this needs to be looked at to eliminate any reference to your signature or our approval or anything. So I think we're going to have to.
Worried about are not doing our responsibility of at least some diligence. I mean, I agree with
Right.
you, it should be rubber stamp, but I'm surprised that Jennifer doesn't get like a report of what was paid, at least on a monthly basis to the employees to make sure it's right? Like the right PTO was taken out, the right benefits
that's
were
true.
paid.
I do get the PTO list. So I get a list of PTO every pay period.
Oh.
But I don't get paid.
That's, we shouldn't be like approving it at each meeting, but could we delegate it to Jennifer and say that Jennifer but she's not even getting the information to like
Right,
say
right.
that she's confirmed that the payments were made.
Can you
in
log
amount.
into something on the city?
I
Do
can
you
find
have
out.
access to log in and see what your employees are getting paid every pay period? You know what? Right, right. So you're saying
But I don't
it's,
think we can just like take out like that, we're not looking at it at all. We need to have some process to be able to say that
Yeah,
It
well,
was
all you
reviewed.
really have to do is start approving it.
Well, why stop there?
Vote to approve it.
Well, why stop just with salary?
Right.
assuming that Jennifer knows what most of our bills are and sees it. Is there anything that is paid from the thing other than salaries that you don't see and know what?
And I'm wondering how that fits into the stuff where we're talking about officers of the board. So now we're talking about her responsibility
Right.
as the library director, which doesn't have anything to do with this. So if it's anything that has to do with like looking at salaries or things like that, that's on a day-to-day, that doesn't belong here.
right.
Yeah.
And to
Talking
Mike's
about the
point, we're
officers.
talking about
Well,
the,
right, but the thing is, so now we're saying the bylaws currently have a process by which the treasurer is supposed to be looking at the finances to make sure that the salaries are paid appropriately. It says the board, it's in our, to make sure that the salaries are paid appropriately. It says the board, it's in our duty is to do this.
Then let's take it out.
With the assistance of the library director as necessary and appropriate.
Right, as necessary
So
and appropriate.
that's what we are doing.
Right, well, I don't know if we're really doing exactly what this says we're doing,
But we can't now give,
what this says we're doing.
but we can't now give Jennifer even more work than what she already
Right,
has.
I don't disagree with
That's
that.
not
I
fair.
It might not be a ton of work if there is some kind of automated, something that the city can just, that the city can send me every pay period, and I could say, oh yeah, that looks right. Send me every pay period, and I could say, oh yeah, that looks right.
Well, I would say that in the past, we have seen things on the salary and wages thing that have caused us to say something. Why is longevity at, us to say something? Why is longevity at 56% when we're in January? Why is, this and that so high? Are people taking more time off,
Or not enough time off, which is usually
we have definitely addressed personnel wage issues. Not enough,
which is usually
we have definitely addressed personnel wage issues. So I don't think that more oversight is necessary.
I'm just saying it might not be, I can find out from the city, how difficult would it be to get some kind of automated report that I could just
Right.
double check.
And as far as the treasurer's, to Mike's point, the treasurer's job description in our bylaws. Is there something that Mike, that you would suggest we take out of that to make this,
Another library.
Okay.
It says, the board shall have exclusive control of the expenditures of all monies collected, donated, or appropriated to the library fund, and shall audit and approve all library expenditures.
is that under the treasurer's job
No,
description?
that's just under the board, duties of the board of trustees.
Okay.
And then finance and approved budget.
Does it have, if you go through the bylaws, I assume, are you on like a bylaws page?
Yeah.
Does it go through the officers and what the treasurer's duties are?
Officers. Talking about the terms. Secretary should keep true and accurate minutes. Library director may designate.
The details of the treasurer?
Details of- It gives the power to the advised because,
Right, yep, I've looked into that, yeah.
so I don't think any one or the whole board should do it. Right?
Well, we've gone almost double the time that I wanted to spend on
Well,
bylaws.
can you make a
Because
couple notes on,
Yeah.
the act, on Article 5?
Yeah, we're kind of going bit by bit,
Okay.
and I'm trying to take like 15 minutes a meeting to do it. We'll get to that.
Because it
Okay.
just says that volunteer progress report, every committee makes a progress report every meeting. I know we,
Don't,
I know we.
don't.
Right, and yeah, I agree with that, and,
And then there's, I think one of my other thing was the ethics thing, because now we have this other ethics document,
right,
which has.
and where is that,
Which has.
and where is that, where do you see that in this?
I'm
It's a
just
city.
trying to
Okay,
think about what
okay.
my notes were, but I had noticed that they were in this one.
Gotcha. And we could just maybe note that we follow the ethics, document policy of the city. Ethics, document policy of the city. Is that what you're suggesting?
No.
No, okay, yeah, okay. I'm gonna make note of that, and I made note of the thing on the committees. Huh? Okay, yeah. All right, so I will definitely do a little more research on the treasurer's job description. And I'll look into other libraries and see what they have, and if any of you want to think on it also, that'd be great. I don't want to take up too much of your time this evening. Some clarity on what we expect from Jennifer and the board and the city, and if we could get that worded into a job description without making it too cumbersome or adding too much, we will work on doing that. All right. Okay. All right, we are going to start there. July. And we are going to move on tonight to our policy review, which is agenda item 6C for the 3D printer. And it looks like that was last approved or approved in February of 2017. Looks like that was last approved or approved in February of 2017. And it looks like Jennifer made no changes to it. She felt like it was still current and
The only-
applicable.
Right, the only thing that will change is a procedural.
Applicable.
Right, the only thing that will change is a procedural thing, which we're not gonna bring that in front of them.
Right, right.
But-
Any questions about this policy? Any comments about it? Anything that you see need changes? That you see need changes? Then do I have a motion to, oh boy, every month I have to go through this. The wording. What do we do?
Reviewed, I think we just
Review it, reapprove,
reviewed, I think we just
review it, reapprove?
reapprove.
Here, let me look at my. I know, every month. I can't get that. I'm gonna write this word down. Reviewed, I think we've been using that. So, do we have a motion to review, to,
Wait, you wanna affirm it?
Yeah, don't we want to say motion to pre-approve, like reviewed, pre-need? Reviewed, pre-need?
we used a different word.
Did you make changes to it?
No,
So just affirm it.
Affirm.
Affirm it. There.
Okay, Kristen, are you making that motion? Sure.
Second.
Alan, Kristen and Alan. Any other? Okay. I'm like, yikes, what do we do? So that was Kristen. Who seconded that?
I did.
Alan, thank you. Okay. All right, Kristen, do you have, council actions relating to the library that you
Well,
wanna?
only because it was brought up with all the updates and,
Okay. And that applies to all city employees and board members and that, like,
right, so they
Yeah.
said they were going to.
right,
That it was available, and I think they're gonna try to put it.
we read it.
I know there was discussion about removing the signature, and then we decided not to remove the signature. So. Confirm and use your existing one, I don't know how to find it. Confirm and use your existing one, I don't know how to find it.
You're bound by this document if you didn't sign and not have to.
right, that's,
And you may not have
That was kind
read.
of part of the discussion.
May not
we
read, may
had
not have
too, was-
received.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming you're, think about it, it's like, well, I'm assuming you're, think about it, it's like, well, if they enact a policy, maybe all it has to be is a visual notice that they act, of their actions, is all it takes, and then we're, look at the employees are bound by that.
Right.
I heard about the first time the code. Did you go, I heard about the first time the code. Did you go look at the first time?
yeah, Jennifer had copies for all of us.
Yeah,
Like,
It was, it
could have
was
sworn.
passed
Yeah, I
years
think you
and-
had
Yeah,
one with
'cause
all
I
of our
had,
names on it
I had them from the city and had everybody's names on them,
Yep.
and I handed them to everybody.
at a meeting.
At a meeting.
I just came across mine.
They haven't,
I still was across mine the other,
At a meeting,
At a meeting.
I just came across mine.
they haven't,
I still was across mine the other day too.
Yeah, just today.
Yeah, I don't have it.
They haven't-
I don't remember having it.
they
I remember
haven't
we had a
come back to me
discussion
and said, get your,
Well, unless we're told we have to sign something.
Right. Okay, so it's a, right. Okay, so it's a work in progress, it sounds like anyways, so, sounds good. Anything else? Okay. Judy, update on the school? Yeah.
Play it, Terry. Play it, Terry.
Awesome.
We're on the
While we're on the topic, though, I'd like to go on record to say that you've probably been the most participative superintendent that we've had on the board. That, it's like, you know, that this is a really, not only fun, but it's a really important role, because there's just so much sharing that goes on, as well as how can we help each other out that goes on too. So, so as long as.
Yeah, we're gonna miss you, yeah. Thank you. You guys have been a lot of fun. I never minded being part of this. It was really fun for me. Person and I think.
Good.
Well, and that leads right into our thank you from the board. And we appreciate, oh, okay. Go right ahead, and I think, here's the bag. You can read their names through there.
Okay.
But to you, Judy, and I haven't even been on the board as long as you have, but for the length of time I've been on the board, just your insight into policy matters, especially. There are things that you have brought to this board that we could not have done, and you are an invaluable member, for your knowledge on things that, everybody does their own part, but we will miss the part that you have done.
Years went really fast. I remember my
Yeah.
nervous about who you all were.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you. This is beautiful.
Yeah, and Ravian, your service the past 3 years, again, of evaluation, it has made it 100% better. And, for your time that you've spent doing that, much thanks. So.
Or you want me to train the next person?
I have your number. You especially, Judy, as you not just leave the board, but retire. That's awesome. We wish you the best, and Ravian too. Thank you so much, and good luck and all that. Come back anytime. So our meetings are open then. You do realize that. If you ever miss us,
Yeah.
you can drop in.
If I'm in the library, you guys have to.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And thank you too very much. Yes. The other thing, and this is kind of under, the president's report, Judy Williams. Gotcha. Our master calendar for this month is a strategic plan update, and Jennifer and I talked about it at our agenda meeting, and it kind of makes sense, and we'll revise them. And Jennifer and I talked about it at our agenda meeting, and it kind of makes sense, and we'll revise the master calendar that she will give that 6-month update in July after June has finished. So the master calendar says that's this month, but she will be prepared to do that next month. Master calendar says that's this month, but she will be prepared to do that next month. So that's it. All righty, Jennifer.
Okay, work anniversaries this month, me.
Yoo-hoo.
And I know.
Congratulations.
If you told me 20 years ago, I know.
Congratulations.
If you told me 20 years ago I'd be somewhere 20 years, I would have been like,
Yeah.
so that does kind of tell you how special Franklin is,
Aw,
that I wanted to
good.
stay here for 20 years.
Yeah.
I think that also, when I look at the anniversaries, I think that says a lot about you as well, that your employees all have a long time
They do.
here. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that, and about the board, and
Mhm.
a lot about this place.
We don't have revolving door. like a lot of
Right.
libraries
It's
do.
amazing.
It's, yeah. And Andre Sayavong,
Like,
I know,
Yeah.
right?
that's insane.
Right.
Some things are going very right down here.
and we have a young man with a disability who's doing a temporary work experience here. He is phenomenal.
That's awesome.
He's
That is
phenomenal.
so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Some of us experience.
Oh.
so, we're gonna have all of the drywall, because there is quite a bit of drywall damage. So that will be repaired, so that you won't be able to see it.
And I'm super glad you added that to the preventative maintenance, to the preventative maintenance, to
Well, it might be a little
whisk out that
tricky.
drain.
It might be a little tricky because it's not something, but I'm like, is there any way you could just snake it out every time you're,
Exactly.
when you're here?
Right.
There was so much water. That was the night that it was super humid and
Yeah.
it rained. We had that crazy rain. There's so much water. That was the night that it was super humid and
Yeah.
it rained. We had that crazy rain.
Yeah.
And I thought it was rain coming through the roof, although I thought it was odd because I got the email, I got the text at 10:45. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird because the rain stopped like 2 hours ago.
Mhm. Took that long to,
And I thought, well, does it take that long? It stopped like 2 hours ago.
took that long to.
And I thought, well, does it take that long to drain down the water? But no, it was the compressor that had pulled so much moisture. And then I started thinking about the swamp that you're talking about that was here. And I'm like,
The lagoon,
mean-
that's the word, the lagoon.
Bob said there was about an inch, I think it was an inch and a half of water
Yeah.
up there in that mechanical room from
Okay.
just pulling and that's just moisture that was
Yeah.
pulled from building.
Yeah.
I was here 3 different times that day, and the first time in the morning, I'm like, it's still like every Monday.
Do they have to be closed off while they're doing those repairs?
Probably not. And I asked them to try to coordinate it with the busy time. Don't do it during summer reading.
Right.
I was talking to Bob about this morning. Do it like in, late August when we kind of go,
They were up on the roof during,
I know.
I'm like, oh my God. It just, I was just waiting for some of the little boys that just kept watching, I'm like, oh my God, there's gonna be a little kid going up that ladder.
Mm,
oh, because it was outside the building.
yeah.
So it has been with them doing the roof work, it has been a little bit noisy, but really not too bad. Every once in a while I hear pound
Right.
top or roof, that's
Right.
not too bad.
So there will be a drywall charge.
There'll be a drywall bill coming up in a few months and it's not enough to meet our deductible,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
If Ryan had not caught it though, we would have been able to meet our deductible on computers alone.
Right, right.
We've had a little bit of COVID the budget. I don't have a budget timeline. I emailed Denise. And she doesn't have a timeline. She just said she knows that departments will be working on their budgets during the month of July. So there's no date yet for we had a few employees who've been exposed or come down with COVID. And nobody's passed it from employee to employee. So I think that says that we're doing something right.
And it hasn't affected staffing to, okay.
Not, I mean,
I mean,
yes,
affected staffing to, okay.
not, I mean,
I
yes.
mean, obviously it
It
has,
did
but
a little
not-
bit because Maureen did have to work the
okay,
front
the
desk a
desk,
lot,
okay.
but. So the positive about summer reading is we've already had 775 people signed up, and that was as of last Friday. Summer reading is we've already had 775 people signed up, and that was as of last Friday,
That's
which means
awesome.
that Brittany and Sarah met their goal from the action plan.
What was their goal,
Excellent.
out of curiosity?
To increase it by
Oh, a percentage.
a percentage,
have
and
that.
they hit that. So
That's
they are
awesome.
like
Oh, a percentage.
a percentage,
have
and
that.
they hit that. So
That's
they are
awesome.
like super happy, because,
Okay.
there's still gonna be kids signing up.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
From
So,
last day, I'm
I mean,
Yeah.
so that made them very happy.
sure. Your programs have been fantastic so far. Your treasure hunt was like endless and great.
Oh, that's good.
So many.
So Doris has little kids, like in the children's, and then my girls are teenagers, so they're doing all the teen stuff. So you know.
My kids today took the martial arts thing and
Oh, very good.
thanks, they're trying to now break down the trees.
Right, right.
They broke the board. Great.
Kids of various age groups who live in Franklin, so that we can see what kind of percentage we have.
Oh, well, I've got the demographics.
But maybe
It
not
doesn't
from
break it
exact
down that
programs.
much.
You're talking about
Yeah.
if they have a program where a performer comes.
Well, no, I'm thinking
No,
more like
these
summer
are-
reading.
Okay.
Summer reading kids in Franklin who would have, been.
Oh.
But it'd be hard because we get people from Greenfield
I
and
was gonna
Greendale
say,
and Waterford.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be really hard because I know a lot of the kids go and they'll do it from program to program. They'll go to different libraries. Like a lot of people go to Greendale and Oak Creek, and just like a lot of people go to Greendale and Oak Creek and to Franklin. We'll go to all the different programs.
But is there a way, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. So if we have information in, you know, the city demographics that say there's X amount of children living in Franklin right now. There's X amount of children living in Franklin right now. You can tell how many, can you tell from that app or from whatever, how many kids that are signed up for the summer reading program are from Franklin? And then we can see out of this many kids in Franklin, this percentage are signed from Franklin. And then we can see out of this many kids in Franklin, this percentage are signed up for the reading program.
It doesn't take addresses.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay,
Well, even if it was just the number of kids who participated in our summer reading program was equal to X percent of the number of children of North.
In Franklin.
To X percent of the number of children of North.
In Franklin.
Leave it at
Well,
that.
you know how many kids there are, so I guess you could pull out those statistics.
It's difficult, not making it complicated, but I mean,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
Franklin residents.
You could even
know,
probably
think
pull
that's-
them against, even maybe not like the,
instead
you
of
could even
feeling-
probably
think
pull
that's-
them against, even maybe not like the private school, but even just against the school statistics.
Yeah.
the public
And
school.
also, we could look at our library statistics as well. So it could be another piece to it.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Library versus community. So anyway, that was a very positive sum.
People like numbers, they like those.
Or, so I forgot to tell you, they used to.
Okay.
the city,
You put that on now.
July 12th.
So our staff copier is up in October, so I have
Mhm.
made Maureen and Janice the copier committee.
Excellent.
And they have made, and they've made copies not only on our paper, but also quality paper at every single place they've evaluated. And they look at, Janice knows what she's looking at because she's a graphic designer,
yeah.
but she's looking at this little stuff that I would never
Right,
in my whole
right.
entire life
Right.
see, but she sees it right away.
Yeah.
They did identify one that they really like, so we're gonna see it. It's not the least expensive, so I'm gonna see what I can work out with them.
Yeah.
And say, you're not the least expensive. What can you do for us?
Right, right.
So, see if
Good.
he'll work with us. So anyway, that's where we are with that. Our lease is up, not up until October, but
Right.
because of that's where we are with that. Our lease is up, not up until October, but
Right.
because of the issues with the supply chain.
Mhm.
I'm like, better start working on it now. If it's a
Good.
few months, our lease is up in October, we can go month to month. I guess, our current vendor, Rico, could not pull. Our current vendor, Rico, could not pull the copier. They could do a month to month, so
Okay.
they could just do a month.
Until we just,
Yeah, until we get the new,
Yeah.
for some, not all of
Right.
them, but some. And then Micflis is in the process of interviewing a new business administrator to replace Junie Kenny-Asti. And we did our first summer concert in the park yesterday, and Laura said it was great. She felt attendance at the but last year they had like a $200 promotions budget from a grant that they received. And when I say they, the library and Franklin Health Department and Volition
Right,
Franklin
right. It was
all
part of that, yeah.
did this, did a grant and got some money for promotion. And so they felt like that might.
It was a marketing thing, wasn't it? Yeah. And I think, I'm not 100% positive, but there possibly could be new people in charge of the concerts.
There is.
I wasn't sure if this was the first year or if they, last year, so there's a whole new group putting together the concert, so,
I wish they would put, one year they had banners out.
yeah, see, there's a new people in charge of the
And
concerts.
if they would advertise with banners out, like, I don't think people know.
Well, last year they did Facebook, they had $200 in Facebook promotion, and they also got, yard signs.
Right,
I didn't see the yard signs. They are on Facebook, because I've seen them come.
right.
I didn't see the yard signs. They are on Facebook, because I've seen them come up and go through my.
So anyway, that, but she said people enjoyed the Plinko game, so.
Well, and I'm just gonna toss it out there, so who staffs that table? One of your librarians?
A library staff member,
So who staffs that table? One of your librarians?
a library staff member, and I've got some foundation members.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if a board member
Yeah, anybody can
would like
show
to do it, it's right on the Franklin webpage, the Franklin,
Yeah.
oops, the Franklin webpage, the Franklin,
Yeah.
oops, the Franklin, City of Franklin webpage. It's under events, so the dates and all of that is on there, so.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it to the board, but the spots that we had filled up,
Perfect. Okay,
So-
okay. Well, if anybody's there and wants to help.
that we had filled up.
Perfect. Okay,
So-
okay. Well, if anybody's there and wants to help out.
We should get some nice.
We have been talking about that, so.
Magnet ones are really nice.
Badges.
The
We don't need no stinking badge. We
the,
don't need no stinking badge. You're welcome, Terry.
get the magnet kind of. I agree, yeah.
And then I just added, we just got this month, but the Wisconsin Library, so I just put that in there for you to read.
And we have the older copy of it in our materials. I found that very helpful to read.
I thought we had the ALA.
That's what we have.
Yeah.
And this
This is WLA.
Okay, all right.
Obviously, they
But
do,
still, yeah.
they do use, circulation is kind of flattened a little
Mhm.
bit, but we'll see. June seems to be pretty busy.
Good.
We still were the third busiest library in the county, so. Yeah, really. Well, speaking of Margarita Bar, I should tell you that New Berlin Library has the stuff that
The
goes
stuff,
into a
but not the
cocktail, but
alcohol?
not the alcohol.
Oh,
And then
What did I miss
instructions
that one?
on. And hopefully their instructions include a mocktail
sure,
as well as a
cocktail.
cocktail. But
Oh.
anyway, I thought that was interesting. Not,
Get
not sure
Carrie
I
and
want to do
Sarah
that.
on the kitchen ladies
Yeah.
and Sam, kitchen
Yeah, now
lady and Sam.
Well, Sarah didn't feel like doing the lunch
Right.
lady stuff, so they added Sam.
Right, that is so cute.
Well, obviously, it's not about
On alcohol.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Well, then forget it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
right,
That's any,
yeah,
so, yeah.
right.
That's- Any questions about any of this?
All right. Annie, anything from the foundation?
I asked Jennifer, I missed the literary luncheon meeting.
Oh,
So we
okay.
have another one coming up so we have another
Oh,
So we
okay.
have another one coming up so we have another meeting coming up on July 1st at 10. So before my
Oh, yeah, before the.
bill meeting, I
yeah.
have the foundation
Okay.
meeting at 9, actually.
Okay,
And we have a sponsorship sheet. So we're going to go recruit sponsorship sheet with the different levels of sponsorship.
that's right.
And Janice is making it really pretty. And then we're giving it to the foundation members and saying,
Go find.
go find your
sponsors.
sponsors.
Okay,
9.
on Friday, I know. He'll be here
Can
all
you be here?
morning.
You could just stay for the
Yeah.
walkthrough with Bill. That's it for the
Okay,
foundation.
all right. And then the finance committee is, setting up another meeting date and it hasn't been set yet, correct? Or is that to
Yeah,
be
because I was with Denise.
with Denise? Okay. And then our next meeting is July 25th. Anybody have an issue with that?
Yeah, so this, Thursday, Friday, you would have to be in the clerk's office.
Would you mind following up to see if
See if,
anything
I'm gonna look at my bylaws.
following up to see if
See if,
anything
I'm gonna look at my bylaws right now.
to, like, allow us to at the table in July? I'll make sure she knows about this, but I don't know.
Did you get any paperwork for reappointment?
No.
'Cause did
Not that I've
she
seen.
show up at the, did
Not that I've
she
seen.
show up at the, was she
Maybe they
on
won't
it?
be reappointed.
No.
I know you've been
I
appointed.
think you should fill one out, because they do this sometimes, where, you know, some people never have to fill it out. Some people never have to fill it out.
I emailed the mayor after the last board meeting. I said,
Mm-hmm.
That is.
Judy, Judy would like to be reappointed, and he said, great. And I thought he was gonna put it on the,
Could you
Then
copy
I
like
put
Peggy?
it on the,
Could you copy like Peggy and?
yeah.
Yeah,
I should.
see, that's the thing, or Sandy, is Sandy still the clerk for now?
Oh, I'm gonna look in the minutes, but you would have
You
gotten.
don't do them at common council meetings anymore, the
You
mayor
would have
just,
gotten,
We do, but we don't do them name by name.
meetings anymore, the
you
mayor
would have
just,
gotten,
We do, but we don't do them name by name. It used
Oh,
to be
gotcha.
every
Every single name,
Now
okay.
we just read the whole.
and it does say in our or in the bylaws that the mayor shall appoint the school administrator or his or her representative, so I guess technically she would have to be, right, yeah.
But it does say you shall do it.
It does say shall appoint one school administrator or his or her representative to represent the public school district. So, yeah, we'll have to get those two on the agenda. All right. Yes.
Nice job, Annie.
Not yours, you're turning,
So you make motion on it. Okay.
all right, Ravian and Judy, yay, and it is 7:38. All in favor?
Aye.